I secretly resent my sibling for being the favorite. It was always the same, year after year, like a clockwork mechanism that never skipped a beat. My older sister, Sophia, the epitome of perfection, basked in the limelight while I stood in her shadow. She was 8 years my senior, and from the moment I was old enough to understand, it was clear that she was the golden child. She was successful, smart, and seemingly perfect in every way, and our parents never missed an opportunity to remind me of that. "Why can't you be more like Sophia?" they would say whenever my grades slipped below an A, or when I struggled with something she had mastered effortlessly at my age. Their words cut deeper than they could ever know, embedding a seed of resentment that grew with each passing year. Sophia, of course, was always gracious, always kind. She never rubbed her achievements in my face. She didn't have to. The constant comparisons were enough to fuel my growing bitterness. I tried to be happy for her, truly. But the more I tried, the more I felt a gnawing jealousy and inadequacy that I couldn't shake. One winter evening, the resentment reached a boiling point. Sophia had just received another accolade at her prestigious job, and my parents had thrown a lavish dinner in her honor. The house was filled with relatives and family friends, all of them praising her, their eyes glittering with admiration. I was in the kitchen trying to stay out of sight when Aunt Margaret cornered me. "You must be so proud of your sister, Claire," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. "She's accomplished so much at such a young age." I forced a smile, feeling the familiar sting of comparison. "Yes, Aunt Margaret, she's very talented." "Well, I'm sure you'll find your path, too," she added, patting my arm in a way that made me feel even smaller. "Sophia's a tough act to follow, after all." I excused myself and slipped outside into the cold night. The air was crisp, biting against my skin, but it felt refreshing compared to the suffocating atmosphere inside. As I stood there, I couldn't help but feel an overwhelming surge of anger and frustration. Why did Sophia get everything? Why was she the perfect one, while I was always the afterthought? The days turned into weeks, and the bitterness only grew. I distanced myself from Sophia, avoiding her whenever I could. Our relationship, once close despite the comparisons, became strained. She noticed, of course, but didn't push. I think she sensed that I needed space, but she had no idea the extent of my resentment. It was around this time that I stumbled upon an opportunity for revenge. One day, while Sophia was at work, I found her laptop open on the dining table. Curiosity got the better of me, and I couldn't resist taking a peek. As I scrolled through her emails, I discovered a project she was working on, something crucial for her job. An idea began to form in my mind, one that was fueled by years of pent-up anger and jealousy. I copied some of the files onto a USB drive and deleted the originals. It was a petty act, one born out of bitterness and a desire to see her falter, even if just for a moment. I told myself it was harmless, that she would have backups, but deep down, I knew I was crossing a line. The next day, chaos erupted at her office. I heard her frantic phone calls and saw the panic in her eyes when she came home that evening. "Claire, have you seen my USB drive?" she asked, her voice trembling. I feigned ignorance. "No, I haven't. Is everything okay?" "No, everything is not okay," she snapped, running her hands through her hair. "I had important files on that drive, and now they're gone. If I don't find them, it could ruin months of work." I felt a pang of guilt but pushed it aside. This was my chance to see her struggle, to see her fail for once. But as the days went by and I watched her desperation grow, the satisfaction I had anticipated never came. Instead, I felt a gnawing sense of regret and shame. One evening, about a week later, Sophia approached me. Her face was pale, her eyes red-rimmed from lack of sleep. "Claire, I don't know what's going on between us, but I need to know if you had anything to do with this. Please, just tell me the truth." Her vulnerability caught me off guard. For a moment, I wanted to confess, to tell her everything, and beg for her forgiveness. But my pride wouldn't let me. "I don't know what you're talking about, Sophia." She studied me for a long moment, then sighed. "All right, Claire, if you say so." She turned and walked away, and I felt a hollow ache in my chest. The days that followed were torturous. I saw the toll the lost project was taking on her. She was working late nights, trying to salvage what she could, and I couldn't escape the guilt gnawing at my conscience. I had betrayed her, my own sister, out of jealousy and spite. One night, unable to sleep, I crept into her room and placed the USB drive on her desk. It was a small act, but it was all I could do. I knew it wouldn't fix everything, but it was a start. The next morning, Sophia found the drive. She didn't say anything, but the look she gave me was a mixture of relief and sorrow. I knew she suspected me, but she chose not to confront me. Instead, she focused on her work, trying to repair the damage. Weeks passed, and gradually things began to improve. Sophia managed to salvage her project, and her reputation was restored. But our relationship remained strained, a silent tension lingering between us. One evening, as we sat in the living room, an unexpected guest arrived. It was Daniel, Sophia's fiancé. He had been away on a business trip during the whole ordeal and had just returned. As he hugged Sophia, he glanced at me and frowned. "Sophia, can we talk?" They went into the kitchen, and I could hear their muffled voices. Curiosity got the better of me, and I edged closer to listen. "I found something in Claire's room," Daniel said, his voice low but urgent. "It's a copy of your project files." My heart raced. He knew. They both knew. Sophia's voice was calm but firm. "Thank you for telling me, Daniel, but this is between Claire and me." I hurried back to the living room, my mind racing. Moments later, Sophia and Daniel emerged from the kitchen. She walked over to me, her expression unreadable. "Claire, we need to talk." We went outside, the cool evening air a stark contrast to the tension between us. Sophia took a deep breath. "Claire, I know you took the files." I opened my mouth to deny it, but the look in her eyes stopped me. "I'm sorry, Sophia. I was just so angry and jealous. I felt like I could never measure up to you." She sighed, her shoulders slumping. "Claire, I never wanted you to feel that way. I've always been proud of you, even if our parents couldn't see past their own expectations." Tears welled up in my eyes. "I know, I couldn't handle it anymore." She stepped closer, wrapping her arms around me. "We're sisters, Claire. We need to support each other, not tear each other down. I forgive you, but we need to rebuild our trust." As I hugged her back, I realized how much I had missed this connection, this bond we once had. It wouldn't be easy, but I was determined to make things right. The weeks that followed were challenging. Rebuilding our relationship took time and effort, but gradually we found our way back to each other. We talked more openly, sharing our feelings and frustrations. Our parents were surprised by the change, but they slowly began to understand the pressure they had put on us. One day, as we sat in the garden, Sophia turned to me. "You know, Claire, I've always envied you too." I looked at her, shocked. "What do you mean? You have everything." She smiled sadly. "I have achievements, sure, but I've always admired your creativity and your ability to connect with people. You have a gift, Claire, one that I could never match." Her words warmed my heart, and for the first time, I felt a sense of peace. We were different, yes, but that didn't make either of us lesser. We each had our strengths, and together, we were stronger. As the years passed, our bond grew stronger. We supported each other through life's challenges, celebrating each other's successes without the shadow of comparison. The resentment and bitterness that once consumed me faded away, replaced by a deep love and respect for my sister. In the end, it wasn't about who was better or more successful. It was about understanding, forgiveness, and the unbreakable bond of sisterhood. And as we stood together, facing whatever life threw our way, I knew we had both found our path to happiness.